The fluorescent lights hummed their familiar tune as Marcus Chun adjusted his security badge and checked his radio one final time. Another night shift at Riverside Shopping Complex stretched ahead of him, the kind of quiet routine that most people found mind-numbing but gave him exactly what he needed. Predictability. Safety. A steady paycheck that kept food on the table and a roof over 80-year-old Lily's head. He walked the familiar perimeter, his trained eyes automatically cataloging shadows and sight lines, habits from another life that he could never quite shake. The parking garage held its usual collection of late-shift workers' vehicles, their metal surfaces gleaming under the harsh security lighting. Dr. Elena Vasquez's silver Honda sat in its usual spot near the medical building, though she wouldn't be leaving the hospital for another few hours. Marcus knew the schedules of the regular night workers by heart. It wasn't paranoia, he told himself. It was just being thorough, being prepared. The same instincts that had kept him alive through 3 tours with Force Recon now helped him protect a shopping complex in suburban Portland. The irony wasn't lost on him, but it paid the bills and let him be home when Lily got ready for school each morning. His phone buzzed with a text from his neighbor Mrs. Patterson, who watched Lily overnight. "Everything fine here. Sweet dreams, kiddo." The message included a photo of Lily fast asleep, clutching the worn teddy bear that had been her constant companion since her mother died 4 years ago. Marcus smiled and tucked the phone away, continuing his rounds with the quiet satisfaction that came from knowing his daughter was safe and loved, even when duty called him away from her side. 3 floors above in the emergency department, Dr. Elena Vasquez pulled off her latex gloves and rubbed her tired eyes. The double shift had been brutal, a steady stream of trauma cases that left her emotionally drained and physically exhausted. She glanced at the clock on the break room wall. 2:15 in the morning. Most of the city slept while she patched up the consequences of their waking hours. Her colleagues had long since headed home to their families, leaving her alone with the skeleton night crew. Elena gathered her purse and lab coat, her thoughts already turning to the hot shower and glass of wine waiting at her apartment. She'd been working at Portland General for 6 years now, and the late nights never got easier, but someone had to be there when the broken and bleeding arrived at their doors. The elevator descended through the medical building with mechanical precision, each floor bringing her closer to the parking garage and her car. Elena's mind wandered to the patient she'd lost earlier, a young man barely older than her nephew, his life snuffed out by a drunk driver's poor choices. These were the cases that followed her home, that made sleep elusive even when exhaustion weighed heavy on her shoulders. She stepped into the parking garage, her heels echoing off the concrete walls. The space felt different at this hour, shadows deeper and more menacing than during the day. Elena fumbled for her car keys, suddenly aware of how isolated she was down here. The security guard would be making his rounds somewhere, but the garage felt utterly empty. That's when she noticed the 2 figures near the stairwell, their posture suggesting they weren't supposed to be there. The 2 men stepped out of the shadows with practiced ease, their movements coordinated like predators who had done this before. The taller one, lean with prison tattoos crawling up his neck, blocked Elena's path to her car while his partner, stockier with cruel eyes, positioned himself near the exit ramp. They had chosen their spot well, away from a security cameras Marcus had noted were broken on this level for the past 2 weeks. Elena's heart hammered against her ribs as she recognized the danger. These weren't lost tourists or confused patients from a hospital. The way they moved, the calculation in their approach, told her everything she needed to know. She clutched her purse tighter, knowing the $50 in her wallet wasn't what they were after. "Doc, you're working mighty late," the tall one said, his voice carrying a false friendliness that made her skin crawl. "My friend here thinks you might need some company walking to your car. Dangerous world out there for a pretty lady all alone." "I'm fine, thank you," Elena replied, surprised by how steady her voice sounded despite the terror clawing at her throat. She took a step backward, calculating distances to possible escape routes, but the stocky man had already moved to cut off a retreat toward the stairwell. The fluorescent light above them flickered intermittently, casting eerie shadows that seemed to dance with malevolent intent. Elena's medical training kicked in, her mind automatically cataloging the men's physical conditions, searching for weaknesses she could exploit if necessary. But she was a healer, not a fighter, and they both outweighed her by at least 60 pounds. Now don't be unfriendly, the tall man continued, stepping closer. Marcus was checking the locks on the pharmacy entrance when his radio crackled with static. Something felt wrong, though he couldn't pinpoint exactly what. The kind of wrongness that had kept him alive in Fallujah and Helmand province, an invisible shift in the atmosphere that made the hair on his neck stand up. He paused, letting his senses expand the way his drill instructors had taught him years ago. There it was. Voices in the parking garage, too low and deliberate for casual conversation. The kind of voices that meant trouble. Marcus moved toward the stairwell with fluid precision, his footsteps silent on the polished floor. Every muscle memory from his Force Recon days awakened as he descended toward the garage level. He could hear them now, two male voices and a woman's frightened response. Marcus peered through the stairwell window and assessed the situation instantly. Two men cornering the doctor from the hospital, positioning themselves like wolves isolating prey. The tactical situation was clear. Limited visibility, concrete barriers for cover, multiple escape routes if things went sideways. Marcus checked his radio and realized backup was 20 minutes away at best. The woman didn't have 20 minutes. He thought of Lily sleeping safely at home, trusting her father to come back to her each morning. Some fights you walked away from. Others you walked into because walking away meant living with the consequences forever. He pushed open the stairwell door with barely a whisper of sound, his body automatically shifting into the combat stance that had been drilled into him through countless hours of training. The two men were so focused on their victim, they never heard death approaching from behind. The stocky man reached for Elena's purse, just as Marcus emerged from behind a concrete pillar like a shadow given form. His movement was economical, precise, the product of training that cost the government millions to instill. The attacker never saw the strike coming. Marcus's hand connected with a specific nerve cluster at the base of the man's neck, and he dropped like a marionette with severed strings. The tall man spun around, confusion replacing predatory confidence. "What the hell?" he snarled, pulling a switchblade for his jacket pocket. The blade caught the fluorescent light as he lunged forward with practiced violence. Marcus sidestepped with fluid grace, his body moving with muscle memory that transcended conscious thought. He caught the man's wrist, applied pressure to precise points that made the knife clatter uselessly to the concrete floor. A controlled strike to the solar plexus folded the attacker in half, gasping for breath that wouldn't come. "Stay down," Marcus said quietly, his voice carrying absolute authority. The fallen men looked up at him with the dawning realization that they had chosen the wrong victim and encountered the wrong protector. Elena pressed herself against her car, watching this mild-mannered security guard transform into something else entirely. The way he moved, the clinical precision of his actions, spoke of training far beyond what any shopping center required. This wasn't luck or desperation. This was expertise. "Are you hurt?" Marcus asked her, his voice gentle now as he knelt to check the unconscious man's pulse. His hands moved with the same controlled precision that had disabled her attackers. "I'm fine," Elena whispered, though her hands trembled as she examined herself for injuries. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving her shaky and disoriented. She studied Marcus with new eyes, noting details she had missed during their brief previous encounters. The way he carried himself, the controlled breathing, the tactical awareness that never seemed to switch off. Marcus was already on his radio, calling for police and medical assistance with the calm professionalism of someone who had reported violence before. The two attackers remained motionless, one unconscious and the other curled in a fetal position, still struggling to breathe normally. "You're not just a security guard," Elena said, her medical training helping her recognize the signs of advanced combat conditioning. "Those techniques, that precision. Where did you learn to fight like that?" Marcus hesitated, his jaw tightening almost imperceptibly. He glanced toward the exit, as if calculating escape routes, even now. Just some military training, he said finally. Nothing special. The deflection was smooth, but unconvincing to someone who had spent years reading people in emergency situations. Police sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Marcus helped Elena to her feet, his touch gentle despite the deadly efficiency those same hands had demonstrated moments before. The contrast fascinated and unsettled her. This quiet man who picked up his daughter from school and worked night shift to make ends meet had just neutralized two dangerous criminals with movements that belonged in a different world entirely. "You saved my life," Elena said, meeting his eyes directly. "Thank you." Detective Rosa Martinez arrived with the first wave of patrol cars, her experienced eyes immediately cataloging the scene. She had worked violent crimes for 12 years and recognized professional work when she saw it. The two suspects lay exactly where Marcus had left them, positioned with the kind of precision that suggested advanced training. "Mr. Chun," Detective Martinez said, approaching Marcus with measured steps. "I need to understand what happened here tonight. These men are both career criminals with extensive records for assault and robbery. The way they were subdued suggests someone with significant combat experience." Marcus maintained steady eye contact while providing his statement, but Detective Martinez caught the subtle tells that indicated there was more to his story. The controlled posture, the way his eyes tracked movement in his peripheral vision, the calm demeanor despite having just engaged in hand-to-hand combat. "I ran background checks while the paramedics worked," she continued, studying his face for reactions. "Marcus Chun, age 34, single father, employed as security guard for 8 months. But before that, there's a gap in your employment history. For years with no official records." Marcus's expression didn't change, but Elena noticed his hands clench slightly. She had remained to give her statement, but found herself more interested in watching this quiet man navigate questions that clearly made him uncomfortable. "Sometimes people prefer privacy about their past," Detective Marcus said carefully. "I did what anyone would do to protect an innocent person." "Not anyone could have done this," Martinez replied, gesturing toward the subdued attackers. Later that evening, Detective Martinez sat at her desk running Marcus Chun through every database available to her. What she found made her lean back in her chair and whistle softly. The employment gap wasn't a gap at all. It was classified. Marine Corps Force Reconnaissance, 3 combat deployments, decorated veteran with commendations that were mostly redacted from his file. She picked up her phone and called her contact at the VA. "This is Martinez, Portland PD. I need verification on a former Marine named Marcus Chun. What I'm seeing here suggests he was Special Operations, but I need confirmation for an incident report." The silence on the other end stretched longer than usual. "Detective, that name is flagged in our system. Mr. Chun was discharged 4 years ago for family hardship after his wife's death. His service record is exemplary, but mostly classified. He turned down multiple offers for private security work that would have paid 10 times what he makes now." Meanwhile, Elena sat in her apartment, unable to sleep despite her exhaustion. The image of Marcus moving with lethal precision kept replaying in her mind. She had treated combat veterans in the emergency room and recognized the signs. The hypervigilance, the controlled movements, the way he seemed to assess every person and situation as a potential threat. She thought about their brief conversations during his security rounds, how he always asked about her late shifts with genuine concern. Now she understood why. He wasn't just being polite. He was protecting her, watching over everyone in that complex with the dedication of someone trained to keep people safe. The next morning, Elena found herself walking through the shopping complex during her lunch break, something she had never done before. She spotted Marcus near the main entrance, chatting with his 80-year-old daughter who had apparently stopped by after school. The little girl wore a bright yellow backpack and animated expression as she showed her father a drawing from art class. "That's beautiful, sweetheart," Marcus said, his voice soft with genuine pride. "We'll put it on the refrigerator when I get home, right next to your math test with a gold star." Elena watched the interaction with growing understanding. This was why he had walked away from lucrative military contractor positions, why he worked a job that barely covered rent and groceries. Every decision filtered through what was best for Lily. The little girl noticed Elena approaching and tugged on her father's sleeve. "Daddy, is that the doctor lady you helped last night?" she asked with the innocent directness of childhood. Marcus turned, surprise flickering across his face. "Dr. Vasquez," he said carefully. "I wasn't expecting to see you here." "I wanted to thank you properly," Elena replied, kneeling to Lily's eye level. "Your daddy is a real hero. He saved me from some very bad men." Lily's face lit up with pride. "My daddy used to be a soldier," she announced. "He has medals in a box under his bed, but he says the real heroes are the ones who didn't come home." Marcus's expression tightened, but Elena saw the love and protectiveness in his eyes as he looked at his daughter. Over the following weeks, Elena found herself looking forward to their brief encounters during her late shifts. Marcus would check on her car in the parking garage, a small gesture that made her feel safer after the attack. Their conversations gradually moved beyond polite pleasantries to genuine connection. She learned about his struggles with Lily's asthma medications that insurance barely covered, how he tutored other children in math to earn extra money, and the way he lit up when talking about his daughter's academic achievements. In return, Elena shared stories from the emergency room, her own challenges as a physician trying to heal a broken system. One evening, Elena made a decision that surprised even herself. "Marcus," she said as he completed his security rounds, "I have a proposition for you. Portland General is looking for a security consultant to upgrade our protocols. The pay is 3 times what you make here, and it comes with full medical benefits." Marcus stopped walking, his expression unreadable. "Dr. Vasquez, I appreciate the thought, but I'm not looking for charity." "It's not charity," Elena replied firmly. "After what I witnessed, I know you're overqualified for any security position in this city. The hospital board wants someone who understands real threat assessment, not just someone who can watch monitors." She pulled a business card from her pocket. "The position would involve designing safety protocols for our staff. No night shifts. Home every evening with Lily. The medical benefits alone would cover her asthma treatments completely." Marcus stared at the card, conflict evident in his features. Marcus was walking Lily to school 2 days later when he noticed the black sedan that had been following them for 3 blocks. His training kicked in automatically as he assessed potential threats and escape routes. The men he had taken down were part of a larger crew, and word traveled fast in criminal circles about the security guard who fought like a professional soldier. He guided Lily into the school building, speaking quietly to the principal about keeping her inside until he returned. Then Marcus positioned himself in the parking lot, watching the sedan circle the block like a predator testing its prey's defenses. 3 men emerged from the vehicle, their movements coordinated and purposeful. Marcus recognized the type immediately. Street criminals with enough connections to want revenge, but not enough sense to understand what they were challenging. The leader, a man with gang tattoos covering his arms, approached with swagger that masked nervousness. "You embarrass some friends of ours," he called out. "Time to settle accounts." Marcus stood perfectly still, calculating angles and distances. "Take your friends and leave," he said quietly. "This doesn't have to escalate." The man laughed, signaling his companions to spread out in a flanking pattern. "Too late for that, soldier boy. We know all about you now. Force recon, right? Well, 3 against 1 are better odds than you had in Afghanistan." Marcus smiled without humor. "In Afghanistan, I had rules of engagement. Here, I only have one rule. Protect my daughter. And you just made this personal by coming to her school." The confrontation lasted 90 seconds. When Detective Martinez arrived with backup, she found 3 men zip-tied with their own shoelaces, conscious but thoroughly subdued. Marcus stood calmly beside them, his breathing barely elevated despite having neutralized multiple armed attackers. 2 months later, Marcus wore a suit to his first day as security consultant at Portland General Hospital. Elena had insisted on walking him through the building, introducing him to staff who would benefit from his expertise in threat assessment and emergency protocols. Lily bounced excitedly beside them, her new inhaler safely tucked in her backpack, along with a health insurance card that guaranteed she would never again go without proper medical care. Daddy, she announced to Elena, designed the coolest safety system ever. He showed me the blueprints and everything. Elena smiled, watching Marcus explain camera placement strategies to the facility's director. The quiet intensity that had saved her life now served a different purpose, protecting hundreds of hospital staff and patients. His military training had found its proper calling, not in violence, but in prevention. That evening, as Marcus tucked Lily into bed in their new apartment, she looked up at him with serious eyes. "Daddy, I'm proud you help keep people safe, just like Dr. Elena helps make people better." Marcus kissed her forehead, peace settling over him for the first time in years. Sometimes the best battles were the ones fought not with weapons, but with wisdom, courage, and the determination to protect those who needed it most. If this story touched your heart, please drop a comment and let us know your favorite part, or if you've witnessed someone's hidden strength emerge when protecting others.